All right. So hello, everybody, once again. I'm Dr. Andrius Grybauskas here today. I will be your moderator for the session. And this is one of the last IN4ACT webinars this year. Who knows what will happen next year? But we have a very nice treat today for all of us. It's Mr. Peiman, Professor Dr. Peiman Sarvari. I don't know if I pronounce your name okay or not, but I apologize if I made any mistakes.
That's okay.
In a sense, Peiman is a close friend of mine, a great researcher, a data scientist. He's working in Luxembourg Institute of Technology. He's also he's everywhere. He's in one step in the European Commission, one step in Fintech, one step in banking, one step in his house, in his apartment. He's everywhere. So he's a very nice and friendly individual in the heart, but he's also a very great professional and competent researcher to whom to talk is always very interesting. And today he will be presenting something about fintech and the future of banking. Peiman asked, whether we're going to do this an interactive session or do you want to have questions at the end? He said he is fine in both ways and both approaches. So if you have questions in between the slides, just raise your hands and let's ask, or write a message and I can ask him later on. Or if you want to have some open discussions in the end, that's also fine. We can do it that way as well. So Peiman, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Andrius. So it was a pleasure of mine that to be here again and to meet you guys. Continuously, I'm traveling to Kaunas, so I know personally most of you, but for those who I haven't met, I would love to continue discussions, chats, and collaboration with you through our LinkedIn or emailing system that we have, because it might be the last, let's call it days that we will have communication in Kaunas and KTU. So, I mean, LinkedIn is a better way to have contact. So, thank you very much, Andrius, for a nice presentation, and thank you for the opportunity. I am starting to talk about the idea that we created to have a webinar. And this is something that I put lots of times, to be honest, on my life, like 12, 13 years of research in the research level. And nowadays, this is 5, 6 years that I am in the innovation level and collaborating with many organizations, banks, European Investment Bank, and large banks, Clearstream, etc., to develop those research and turn it to a kind of technology. So it would be nice to talk about these concepts and to have your ideas and your questions and your comments afterwards. So when it comes to talk about prediction, everything turns kind of fuzzy. And prediction is something difficult. People made a lot of money through the past with predicting the future, forecasting, etc. Still, that's the case. So people are making still money with this prediction thing. You don't need old ladies or old men as a kind of wizard to predict the future. Nowadays, we have the power of data and artificial intelligence. In 2016, which is almost 8 years ago, people were trying to talk about the future, that what will happen in the future to the banking, and this is the prediction they did. Look at this nice slide. The guy talking about in-branch Wi-Fi system, and he's predicting that we will have mobile payments. He believes that in the future we will pay with our smartwatches. And he talks about the branch recognition. It means when you are in the branch, your phone will recognize the branch. It's talking about automated investment, talking about virtual finance services. And you see how naive were we in 2016 when we were looking at the future of banking services. And look at now, what we are talking about. Now we are in 2023. And mainly, we are talking about the danger of AI, talking about the best ways of investing, the best ways of benefiting and exploiting the technologies for better investment systems, for better services. How can we regulate and manage the system which is related to the money and to the banking system? How we can just put chains around the system that do not let AI to go out of the track. And this is not just the AI. They talk about the distributed ledger, Bitcoins, and blockchain technologies. They also talk about IoT, Internet of Things. They believe they can connect everything to each other, but in deep down in the heart, they feel threat. So these kind of news and a kind of demagogy is coming to the market. But what is the most important in here? That the fear that banking system is feeling when it comes to talk about fintech and to ask the question that why banking system should be unrest. But before going to answer that question, let me do a kind of a quick review over the functions that mainly banking system is dealing with. And I go with the 4 main KPIs that we have. The first one is increased revenue, that everybody, every institution, every let's call it the company, every store trying to increase the revenue, decreasing the risk for sure. Human being deep down doesn't like the risk. And the decrease in the cost is mainly related to the money, and competitive advantage is something that if you have a competitor in the street, in the store, in your area. So this is the concept that needs to be covered through the functions of banking. So when we talk about asset management, for example, we see that there are functions, some of them related to competitive advantage, that like analyzing money flows. This is giving the power to the bank to get better than the other competitor. If you look at insurance industry, you will see that sometimes they are talking about optimizing the functions like cash management. And they talk about risk management. They talk about claim forecasting. They talk about triage and this kind of activities. When you go to commercial banking, you see that revenue increase is the main one. So revenue attribution is a function, or another one like customer retention and customer churn. Be careful, customers can leave your bank and move to another bank. So this is a function that bank needs to cover it. So going a bit forward to see that what kind of functions banking industry is following nowadays, not nowadays, this is almost 30, 40 years that they are talking about anti-money laundering and know your customer. This function is extremely important, especially when you have millions of customers. So let's talk about the other functions like regulatory systems that is related to the risk function. And credit risk is another one that people, especially customers, they are dealing with the stock markets, they are dealing with investing their money in the bank, and etc. So in all of these functions that you see in here, there is a flow of data. There is a responsibility coming from banking side. There is a feeling and risk coming from the customer side, and there is something that needs to be covered. So what is important is here is that we need to understand how to approach this kind of challenges that banking industry is dealing. So fintech just coming into this equation with talking about financial technologies. So if you look at the fintech ecosystem, you need to focus on 3 main key statistics. The first one is that you see the startup segments. that in the US ecosystem, if you consider US as the most advanced one on the planet, we see that they are dealing mainly with payments and settlements. They like to talk about capital markets, data analytics, or even blockchain, RegTech, and other factors that you see in here. The second statistic is the number of fintech startups by region that you see in Americas, how they are advanced. In Europe, we have 3,500, and Asia and Pacific, they come after. But the most important factor in here is the top fintech segments by transaction. That you see, we have four main functions in here: digital payments, personal finance, alternative lending, and alternative financing. As you see, this market is really going up and growing up. And this is something that CBI Insight predicted for 2023, and we are almost there. So, three key fintech statistics just letting us to know that banking industry has a right to scare and feel fear in here. But before going to that concept of how to solve that issue for banking, let's move with this fintech, which is shaping the future of banking. Why fintech is so important, and why these statistics that you saw in here is rising so fast. So let's talk about the power of fintech regarding the market share that they increase. 25% of all banking trying to just evaluate worldwide by 2030, rising from current, which is in 2023, 2%, and they are investing more, and they are trying to raise to 25%. And this is the market share of fintech. So banking industry deep down is trying to capture this fintech inside the system. Digital transformation, which is actually, we talk about Industry 4.0, all the enablers are there, all the drivers are there, and thanks to these enablers, we are facing with the concept that the fintech is transforming something, which in here is the financial activities. So, with more advancement in the artificial intelligence and other technologies that nowadays we are very familiar with, generative AI, we can simply see that technology helping the progress and accelerating the process. So this is super important when we look at advancement, because technology is the driver of these advancements. So fintech is good. Fintech is in a top place because they are already in the concept of technological advancement. User experience. So this is a bit controversial when we talk about user experience, when we talk about fintech technologies, because some of people, they like to have in-person meetings with agents in the bank and to have physical contacts, to have their services. Some people, they prefer to do their business from their bedrooms. And this is a bit different when it comes to user experience, but what is important is that we would love to not travel by bus or use transportation system to do some simple repetitive task. So user experience mainly is nice when it comes to talk about fintech. So, and disruption of consumer banking, which is super important when it comes to disruption concept, because financial technologies that we talk about it is really changing the life of individuals, and banking industry is aware of that. I will give you one example. The example that many of you are already familiar with that is the concept of Apple Pay, and we are paying with our phone. So if you look at this giant, I mean Apple company, which is a superpower in the in the industry that is active, you will simply see that it is growing up from 60 million to 500 millions now, which is in the range of 5 years. If you look at these statistics, we will see how it is going up, and the trend is going like this. It's extremely difficult to just oversight the progress and the trend that we see, especially with Apple Pay. And unfortunately, Samsung Pay is just fixed there and it is not progressing well, but Apple Pay is taking over the market. Apple Pay today is paying our, I don't know, restaurant invoices, etc. But tomorrow they will turn to a kind of bank. And this is the target that they have. Look at this slide. This is coming from American, in United States concept and point of view. You can simply see that when it comes to just talk about mobile banking features, they are talking about the concept which is instant transfers. People like to do it. We do it with our phone. Fingerprint login, and they talk about order replacement cards and Apple Pay, etc., and thousands of services. Face recognition is another one there. Voice banking is another one. Chatbot services, another one. So you can simply see that this industry is growing so fast, and people's expectations are growing like this. And you look at this slide, you can see that what kind of expectations they have. Yeah. When we talk about fintech and we talk about the trends of fintech, we simply see thousands of companies, startups coming up, and the ecosystem and the landscape of fintech is just growing extremely fast. This is a slide coming from 2023, and you see that this is statistics talking about the services that we have, especially in the RegTech, robo-advisories, and the companies those are active in here, digital banking and software providers. You see the companies, the payments and the blockchain technologies are extremely quick there. They are growing fast. We have an insurance company and insurtechs. So simply we see that alternative banking is growing very fast. So, business intelligence is another factor in here that we consider it as a kind of fintech service. Any question, any comments so far? Let me look at the presenters, comments. I check my chat.
Yeah, we have one question, Peiman.
Okay, what is that?
Will digitalization completely replace cash money by 2030?
Ah, very nice question. Not really. I have a slide for that. When I arrive there, I will show you. Yeah, that's a very good question. I think it will be completely replaced by 2050, but not 2030 yet. Okay. Because even for the moment, we have 2 billion people on the planet that they don't have bank accounts. There it is.
And we have another question from Regis. What are your insights taking into account consideration various cyber risk and cyber crimes?
Oh yeah. So this is another one which is limiting the fintech to take over the banking industry. So I have a slide for that one. Very nice questions. So let's see. I continue with the slides. When I come there, I will please, Andrius, remind me.
Of course.
Answer the question that Ritis mentioned. The both questions are very valuable. Just before continue the concept of fintech, let's talk about the trends that they are around. So, RegTech, so regulative technologies are there. Actually, cyber security is also coming with the RegTech, because if your transaction is not safe, it is not regulated. The other one is digital-only banks, which is a trendy one. And we know it as neobanks, okay? So robotic process automation is extremely important because it is replacing the repetitive tasks. We have a blockchain, distributed ledgers. So we talk about Bitcoin, yeah? Artificial intelligence, it is super important because it is turning the concept of data, the concept of repetition into intelligent concept. We have the acceleration in financial inclusion, which is talking about digital payment, mobile banking, financial education, and regulatory platform performance. Biometric systems. Biometric systems are super important because we are doing Apple Pay, yeah? And Apple Pay is super dependent to the credential, especially face recognition, and open banking. Open banking, which is relying on APIs, is actually one of the pillars for the future of banking. We talked about it. But what is important is that artificial intelligence is super trendy nowadays. So when we look at this, concept of let's call it fintech, banking industry, the trends and the companies around that, we can simply see that how many startups are coming out and how many of them are covering the concept of banking expectation. For example, BNL or Paribas, they are trying to collaborate with the fintech companies, so they are joining to each other. So the question, I am going to the Rita's question that asked about the cybersecurity facts. Before going to that stage, let me talk about this threat to the banking industry. That why banking industry is so sensitive against the fintech concept, because they know there are giants there. They know Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Meta, they are giants. They are technological giants. They are simply able to copy everything and do it better than what you are doing there. So they are really scared about it. So what is important for them is to understand that how they can just confront. That is super important. They are in danger, yes. So Apple, Amazon, Meta, and a lot of companies around the world trying to take the roles of banks. So as the Moody's says, banking industry has two options. Either they adopt the technology or they join as a partner. So they have two ways to go because they are doomed. Before disappearing, they need to make a decision. As you know, it is extremely expensive and difficult to adapt the technology because it requires a lot of research behind. Also, it is sometimes difficult from business model point of view to have a partnership with a company like Apple. So these concepts are important. So another question, will banks be replaced by fintech? I don't think so. For the moment, it is pretty soon to talk about it. And there is a reason. If you ask why, we can continue with answering that question, that what are the biggest risks fintech poses to the banks? This is the question. So when we talk about strategic risk, operational risks, cyber risks, and compliance risks, banking industry has a lot of difficulties to trust their data to a third party, which is a fintech company. When we talk about the small risk that we have in here, and we consider that a small today might be extremely giant when it comes to the time and when it comes to the function. So the downside of fintech is one of the reasons that they are not going to replace the banking industry. Security risk, physical branches, poor user experience, to be honest, for the moment, many people, including myself, we prefer to have a direct answer from people, those we can trust. Global imbalance, compromise of privacy, legal and regulatory challenges, scalability challenges. As I mentioned, almost 2 billion people don't have access to bank accounts. Many people don't have access to internet. It's too early, yeah? Any question in the chat? Oh, yeah, there is a question there, Andrius.
There are many questions, but I don't know if you want to take them in the end, if they will keep on growing.
Yeah, sure. That's a good idea. So, okay, I was trying to see that if it is related to slides that I am on the way. So that's cool, no problem. Yeah. So remember, I talked about 2 options for banking industry. The first one was adopting the technology, and second one was the partnership. So for me, the best idea is the partnership between banks and fintech, because they are already skillful in what they are doing, and banking industry already skillful in what they are doing. So why not to join the forces? As I mentioned, the business models can be compromised, and this is a danger in one point. So continue with the concept of fintech, partnership with the banking system and the banking system. Let's take a look at banking system itself. Remember when we talk about the digital banking from the past, we had the 4 versions of them. That the first one started from 98, and people were dealing with the databasing of the data. So banking industry was storing your data. That was the e-banking for the digital bank one. Then they moved a bit. They started to do knowing your customers, data warehousing, and online services. Sorry. And web-based services, and it was the version 2. The version 3 was the omni-channel one that was giving the customer 360 view, and nowadays we are using that one. The fourth one is Internet of Things, and it is almost giving the power to the customer to control lots of things that they are dealing with the banks, and especially for the data transparency. So when we talk about digital bank, we are mainly talking about Bank 4.0. So Bank 4.0 is super important, especially for new generations that we talk about, because they have embedded experiences. They are dealing with big data. What should you do with your big data if you have it? Are you going to put it in the garbage? AI technologies are there, robotic process automation is there, open banking APIs are there, cyber security systems are there, and lots of solutions that banking, especially Bank 4.0, is providing. But let's look at this one. Just a moment. Look at this one from the banking and customers' point of view. If you look at banking point of view, thanks to the digital bank, they have fewer errors. They have lower operating costs. They have better focus on what they are doing. and they are getting smaller in terms of branch and in terms of repetitive tasks. They are talking about the elimination of redundant cost, which is mainly human. This is the banking one. The second one, which is customer, is extremely important because customer experience is super important. We talk about the security point of view. We talk about the easiness, lowering the charge of for example, transactions, financial inclusion, accessing to full range of services. We talk about the setting up their access to the system. Remember, we never had access to our bank after 5. Now we have access 24 hours, even weekends. Why not? So, digital bank is providing such a service. So, will bank be replaced by fintech? Again, the same question. From my point of view, no. Banks will be there, but they will be invisible. So, embracing platform-based banking and digital ecosystem will lead us to moving into a new era of smart banking. And that era of smart banking is invisible banking. So the bankers will be there and they will be invisible. I go ahead with speaking about the concept of open banking, that I personally am a big fan of this one. First of all, open banking can be the future of fintech. If you look at the definition of open banking, it is providing a kind of intermediary service which is reducing the cost for both parties. The both parties, the first one is the bank, the second one is the customer. So why not? So open banking is helping and smoothening the user experience. The other one is that with the open banking, simply we are just eliminating lots of redundant activities. For example, using your passport for recognizing your face by the agent. That the reason that there is an agent in the bank is that to be sure you are you. Yeah? And you will have your login credentials and you will be in a safe zone, because sharing your login even with the bankers and with the banks also is dangerous one. Why not to have a trusty one in between? Open technology is something which is getting promoted by governments. When you look at the government policies, especially in European Union, you see that they are really promoting us to go with the open technologies. So why not banking and consumers benefit of that? When we talk about open banking, we talk about intermediary level, which is hosting both data coming from customers and the clients and from the banks. So it is giving lots of services in between. There are lots of companies, especially I put these companies from Canada, and you can see that these fintechs are coming from Canada and they are very active in this open banking concept. When we look at these APIs, we see that they are mainly dealing in a native way, and they connect the customer's phone to the bank's data system, and this way they are just helping each other. So, for me, open banking is the future of fintech because it has facilitators, which is enabling financial data. It has read functionality, which is understanding the data and categorizing it. It has write functionality, which is turning the data into the insights and solutions. So we mentioned the open banking. Before that, we mentioned the user experience. But let's talk about another factor, which is Gen Z. So what do Gen Z want from banks? This is another question which will shape the future of banking. So any time that somebody asking a question to me that is AI going to reduce the jobs? Is AI is going to replace human workers? So what will we do with this load of people without a job? My answer is just unique. You can't put tomorrow's talent in yesterday's jobs. So talents are changing, especially when we talk about people. Those were born between 1997 and 2012. When you look at these people, you see that they live in their phones and computers. They do everything fast and quick. They are extremely living the life fast. They find solution before you just even think about it. So, okay, maybe sometimes they are wrong, but still the majority of these Gen Z people trying to use the technology because they are technology or tech savvy. So they want from the bank to save their time. So you cannot ask them to wait in the long lines waiting in front of a cashier. Okay. So this is the concept of service. When we move a bit further to see that how this Gen Z can help us, we see that actually the future is these people, because they will make up 27% of the workforce by 2025. So they will be the future of jobs. So they will be the talent. Banking industry can simply use this talent because this talent already coming with expertise, and they want to do things fast and quick. Why not? So the future of banking is actually Gen Z. So let's talk about how the banking system can help this Gen Z in both directions. The first one, for its functions, and the second one, how to serve them. The first is that it needs to prioritize the 6 areas, like making radical progress with diversity, equity, and inclusion, modernizing and antiquated jobs and notions of career opportunities, transforming the learning experience, become a tech and data magnet, which the bank needs to be, building authentic purpose and drive social impact, which nowadays we are talking about environment, and Gen Z is very, very, very sensitive about it. Energizing the culture with wellness, flexibility, and transparency. Transparency is another factor that Gen Z is very, very sensitive about. So what are the fintech trends in 2024? Simply, it is predictable because we are already there. AI will continue its realm. Open banking will take over lots of functions. Personalized banking will come to the equation. People will prefer to have their own system. Blockchain will continue to just scratch the surface. Banking of things, let's call it IoT, will continue to connect things. Cybersecurity is super important because fintech already has trouble with that. The reason that banking system is trustworthy is that we trust their cybersecurity system. Uber was one of the companies. Those always have our credit card numbers, and it is every year going breached, and our data is moving around in Pakistan, in India, and people are using them. Immersive technologies will help us to feel the branch that we need to go in a bank and etc. Neobanking is there. Quantum computing will turn the equation. So when we look at artificial intelligence, it will be the 23% of 24. When we look at personalized banking, it is 13%. Open banking is the second one, guys. And blockchain is there. So don't underestimate the blockchain and open banking for the moment. If you look at the heat map, you can simply see that Ireland is almost competing with United States. And United Kingdom is one of the countries, those are investing a lot on this one. Lithuania, Ukraine, they are extremely active in fintech. So they are very important. And India is another one. What is the future of banking in 2030? So this is a bit kind of predictive approach, but one thing is extremely visible for me, and that is that the banking will be the invisible one. So for me, banking will be there, but they will be invisible. Customer view is important. The customer, those are the main players of this equation, will try to have better quality and assurance. And the process layer will continue to deal with the AML and KYC, and they will try to spend more money on fintech research. Centralized systems will slowly move towards the decentralized systems, and it will go ahead. So the money that today is a physical one, slowly will move to the decentralized one. And I'm just summarizing what I read from the research and the reference that I put in here regarding KPMG article. And what will happen is that money slowly will disappear, but in 2030 still you will have your coins. Huh? So when we talk about invisible bank, actually we are talking about 4 functions that they are super important for a banking system. The first one is analytics. Operations, those are people are involved. Treasury, that money is there, and solutions. So the solution means making the customer and workers happy. So, and the invisible banking will be there. The fintech will be there, and the consumers will be there. But fintech will help as a kind of third party, as a kind of server. Let's talk about the 2015. Yes, money will go away. It will be disappeared because it will be decentralized. Everything will be digital, and simply banking system will completely disappear, not in terms of physical disappearance, in terms of visibility. So you will see banking impact, but you won't see the banks. According to the article that I put there, the reference one, you can see that people will have personalized services. Everybody will have their own bank on their phone. They will design their own bank, they will design their own services. But before talking about the future of fintech or future of banking, I prefer to talk about the future of money, because money will be the question mark there. If you look at this slide that I put from the same article, you will see that actually in 2050, we will have completely decentralized money. So Decentralized money means that the physical money disappears. And simply you will see that, the concept of technologies around this money will change, because whatever technology we have today is just applied for the current money. So who knows what kind of technology we need for the future money. So that's super important. Again, if you look at the future, I mean, 25 years after the date of today, we will see that everything, especially when it comes to credits, will transform. When it comes to outflows, will transform. Inflows, pools of money will transform. Everything will change. Currencies will have another meaning. When it comes to talk about interest rates, will have another meaning. When we talk about regulation, they will have another meaning from country to country, but still they will deal with decentralized money. So if you go and look at the past, you see that for the moment we are dealing with AI enablers and drivers. But slowly, when you move to 2030, we see that people talking about other concepts rather than technologies and rather than solvers. They are looking at solutions which is personalized. And if you move a bit further to the 2050, you will see that everything might utterly change, especially as the money will change. So the banking services might change. So it will come in 2050. And we don't know. We cannot predict the future, but still we can talk about it. Thank you very much for listening to this presentation and bearing my my sickness, because I got cold, not COVID, and I had some trouble, but it was okay so far. Thank you very much. I would love to hear your questions and comments coming from Andrius, from the chat.
Thank you, Peiman, for a beautiful presentation for sure. So we have one comment from Manuel. What's the role of shadow economy in countries with high rates of informal jobs as barriers to transit to a full digitalization of a banking system?
Oh my God. Andrius, Manuel question is mainly dealing with very deep concept when we talk about the when we talk about the sustainability. So yes, Manuel, there are a lot of concepts, especially for when we talk about jobs, because policymakers, they are dealing with regulation that they approved. Jobs, those are changing, and the concept of transition of tasks, functions, and the skills, another concept. So for sure, countries, those are with high rates of, let's call it informal jobs, will have a lot of problems in this one, because simply we see that they will deal with non-registered concepts, especially if you look at India. This is an example of India. We have hundreds of thousands of insurtech companies in India. They are personalized insurance companies. If you go to India, you will see in the airport everybody trying to take you and to register you to a kind of insurance. They are not registered people. They are not registered employees. Their jobs are not registered, but they created such a thing which is working there. Which is working. You will get your money from that insurance company, by the way, even though if that is a kind of non-registered one. So that is not a kind of a scam. So there are a lot of things like that, and that is another danger. So this is the reason I tell that you cannot limit the scale of today with the concept of the traditional jobs, because everything is changing, people are developing something new. So to answer this question, you might do a lot of research, especially for the future one. So I'm not sure if I can answer this question, and Manuel. So
yeah, thank you, Peiman. It was a kind of a provocative question, actually.
Yeah.
As you said, it's
I have to say, Manuel, you were very successful at provoking Peiman. It worked.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a super duper difficult question. Yeah.
All right. Do we have any more questions from people? You can write in the messages, or you can ask directly.
Yeah.
Or if you're too scared to ask, you can write an email straight to Peiman's inbox.
Yes, this is directly. I put the link in there. I promise I won't be sick when I answer that one. So today I was a bit because of my voice. Sorry for that. But it is good to get cold rather than getting COVID. So I'm happy at least with this one. Yeah.
All right. So I don't see any more questions. So I
So
have
if you don't
to.
see any, what is the time there? I don't see the time, Andrius.
It's perfect time. It's perfect time. Perfect timing.
So maybe I can go back to the questions that Ritis asked, and I like the questions more than Manuel's question because it was very difficult. So, so yeah, Ritis, for the if I find your question in the chat, I hope
Yeah, it's in the chat. You can ask.
I can jump in. I can jump in.
Yeah.
My question was related with the cash money, and we are noticing that for coming years, the rate of cyber crimes is just growing.
Yeah.
And it is not a factor which is creating trust between the system, especially when you mentioned Generation Z, which requires transparency and so on. So how financial institutions, according to your insights, can manage that issue? Because if there will be no trust in the system, low trust system will not work, and we will be coming back 20 years back, if I may just guess. So what are your insights about that? Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's an extremely nice question. To answer to this one, when we talk about open banking systems and when we talk about fintech services, cybersecurity and the regulative part is extremely important. No company will be confirmed from the government side to have access to your banking data if they don't comply with the cybersecurity and with the regulation that they already put in the equation. So that's the reason. Mainly banking industry, they are outsourcing their cybersecurity. And I mentioned we trust banks because we are sure they spend a lot of money to secure their data. I mean, our data. But when it comes to third service providers, who is ensuring them? Actually, the third service providers, those are mainly providing cybersecurity services. Also, they are approved by the governmental standardization. So, RegTech, especially when you look at Apple company, let's give the example of Apple, is one of the most safest organizations on the planet. They are giving services. Microsoft is giving services to the banking system to secure their transactions. So transparency will be high. This is a kind of research topic. At the same time, the security will be high. So this is something which they are working on it. And as long as time goes on, better solution will come out. So that's the reason the concept of open banking is growing up, because the research is in that direction of merging transparency at the same time increasing the security. So the research which is ongoing, especially from the Verizon company, and I was involved in European Investment Bank for one of these activities, is that they are completely talking about this digitalization. this decentralized system, the money which is moving around, especially if you consider like Bitcoin, and transparency of that is extremely difficult. They are trying to develop research, to technology, and to cover this one. That's the reason for the moment we don't have it. Going back to 20 years ago is a kind of a possibility if the research stops there. But it's unlikely. I think the prediction of 2030 and in much more optimistic one, 2050 is valid, that people will use decentralized money, still they will be transparent, and you will be able to trace them. At the same time, you will be able to secure their cyber data. From what I read from reports, as I mentioned, it's difficult to predict the thing. As I read the reports, it is one of the hopes they have.
All right, thank you, Peiman. I hope that answers Professor Rita's questions.
Yeah, I hope. So the other one, Ritis, you had another one there. You had two questions. Or just one?
Oh, those two questions were interrelated. It
Okay.
was about
Good.
cash and crime, because it's a trust,
Yeah.
about the trust within the system. Because when you have some 100 euros in your pocket, you know that the only person you can trust is yourself. When you have 100 euros at the bank account, it's on you, it's on bank, and it's on luck sometimes that your account will not be under the interest of some bad persons. So, you know. So in any way, thank you very much for your considerations.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Another comment, maybe I can 1 minute add it in here, is that the future of jobs, that bankers they concerned about it. They say, okay, are you going to fire us? No, we never fired people. From the bank version 1 to bank version 3, always they recruited people. So why not in bank version 4? Still they can recruit people, and bank version 5. So always you will have an observer to control the concept of especially the concept of services coming from AI. That's the reason still we will have human there to take care of your 100 euros in your pocket, which is to be sure that you will have it when you go to Barcelona, and you won't be have problem there. So still we will have people there. That's one of the reasons that we will have more jobs there. Yeah. Thank you very much for the nice hosting.
Thank you very much, Peiman, for your webinar, and thank you that for so good results for IN4ACT dissemination. I am very glad that we can finish this this year with
Chapter.
that interesting information and webinar.
It was a pleasure to be here and to know you people, and I wish you the best, and please take care of yourself, and thank you very much for your present in here and for your time, and keep well, please. See you soon.
Thank you very much, and good luck for everyone.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas for everyone. Thank you very much.